It's alright.
Oh my god!
Yo guys, what is up? Max in our Wonderlands video, and today we're breaking down the extended gameplay that IGN put out. They put out a 23-minute video of uncut gameplay, and today I want to talk about some of the things that I picked up for it, some of the things I really liked about it, and some things that I'm a little worried about. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let's get right into it. So this gameplay is a longer look at the shorter gameplay that they already put out that was around 5 minutes long that I did a whole breakdown for. So there's a lot of things I've already talked about. I won't be going over those things again, but I do want to talk about the things that you can now fully understand and realize from this unedited gameplay. And the first thing I want to mention, and this is more of a feel thing, is I think, at least from this like little look, that the charm that Borderlands 2 had is back.
Bloody brilliant! Keep blasting them back to the grey hells, citizen!
Okay, so Paladin Mike isn't mine, but I met this cool nerdy barista on the EchoNet, and they said I could use their B&B character if I wanted, and I was like, hell yeah! And they were like, chuffed, governor! And I was like, ooh, I'm stealing that accent too!
And you may be wondering, like, what is that? What are you talking about? Borderlands 2 had this sort of charm to it that when you were going through like Assault on Dragon Keep, I just remember like listening to the characters and their jokes they were cracking and actually laughing out loud and smiling, and the way that Handsome Jack had this charisma and you like loved and hated him. There was a lot of this like charm that Borderlands 2 had that I feel is just missing in Borderlands 3, and I don't mean any harm by saying that. It just didn't feel quite the same. And the way that Borderlands or Wonderlands is now set up, where we've got the Dragon Lord Will Arnett talking to us and kind of reacting to the things that we're doing, feels very similar to the way that Jack did it. It's got that charisma.
Kill these idiots a second time! Come on! Main square is this way!
The skeleton who brings me the Queen's diamond head gets one of those novelty turkey drumsticks. Even if you can't eat it, they'll club a human like a fence post.
We've got Tiny Tina making crazy jokes. There's puns. The characters have wild accents. It just feels almost nostalgic, like Borderlands 2 nostalgic, with this like charm kind of coming back. And I know that some of you may disagree and some of you may agree, but I'm really excited for that, because what made Borderlands 2 so amazing to play through was the characters. The characters were great, and the characters in Borderlands 3 were a little bit of a miss for me. And so I'm really excited. I've seen, watching like other people and friends play Borderlands 3, they'd get lost in the story because they weren't all intrigued or they weren't as interested in it as they were in, like, for example, Borderlands 2 story. And so I think that's already a really promising sign. Next up, we're going to break down some things that you may have missed, and this I actually missed and I didn't see until I watched it again on stream, and I'm just going to play the clip for you.
Let the magic begin!
I was wondering what that secondary firing mode was. I just realized it's a tracker. It is like a tracker. We don't have Atlas, but it's Atlas's mechanic. Look. It's it with the tracker. Swaps, fires to the right of them, then all the bullets seek him. Maybe they just merged Vladov with Atlas. Vladov's whole thing is secondary firing modes. Maybe one of the new secondary firing modes of Vladov is just tracking. So while Atlas may not be in this game, it seems like they took that mechanic and added it to Vladov as one of its possible firing modes. Maliwan may not be in the game, but I'm sure there's weapons that have charge up times, and I'm sure there's weapons that do elemental damage. So it seems like there may be more incorporating those than getting rid of the ideas of them entirely. One thing I did want to point out is I saw some people saying that there is no new manufacturer in this game. There is actually a new manufacturer, the manufacturer that is going to be making the rings and the amulets, which we don't know too much about yet, is going to be made by the manufacturer Vatu. That's V-A-T-U. I thought that was just a little interesting detail. Next up, we see our character use their action skill 3 times. Now, we know that this is one of the very first missions of the game, and we know that the character who's playing it is a little bit over leveled and is better gear than they should normally have for this mission. But still, I can't imagine that they're max level. A lot of the times that we've seen uses of multiple action skills is like a capstone. For example, Avatar on Amara, or like Many Must Fall on Zero. When you like kill an enemy, you can keep chaining your action skill. The fact that this character, if I had to guess, is probably around 11 and use their action skill 3 times means that maybe action skills will be a little bit different and a little bit more common use in this game. Maybe the Feral Surge, the action skill that is used, can have up to 3 charges. Maybe when you get a kill, you can chain it and do it multiple times as long as you're killing enemies. No matter what, if the fact that that is unlocked earlier on in a skill tree makes me even more curious for these skill trees, because usually that's a power that isn't unlocked until way later. Once again, we don't know what level these characters are, but I thought that was really interesting, and also makes me more curious about how the action skills are going to get balanced, because when you have a character that can dual wield spells, it's kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, jumping with an axe is going to be as strong. But maybe if you can use the axe attack and just use it tons of times on enemies in quick succession, that becomes way more valuable and way more useful. Next up, there are some returning voice actors from Borderlands 3 cast as new characters in Wonderlands. I'm not going to say who it is, I'm just going to play you guys a clip.
Oi! You, citizen! Over here! I saw you fighting the undead on the beach. Glad I'm not the only one giving these bony pricks a hard time.
Of course, fellow champion, but I was under the impression most paladins spoke with gravitas.
Do I bloody look like I've got time for manners lessons? I'm up to my codpiece in undead! They came out of nowhere!
Next up, we see spells used in Fight for Your Life. Now, maybe this is something that they had to spec into a skill point to be able to do, but it's on a Berserker, which is the melee character, so it's kind of unlikely that it would have that spell, but I just wanted to point it out because I think it's very cool, and we also get to see the Fight for Your Life animation and how it happens. Very neat there. Next up is this mysterious vending machine. Now, I talked about this on Twitter, but we clearly see 3 vending machines, and typically in Borderlands, we have the gun vending machine, which sells guns, the grenade vending machine, which usually sells grenades plus ammo for your guns and your weapons, and then usually there is another vending machine that sells health, shields, like medkits, class mods, and those are typically your 3 vending machines. Now, clearly, in this image, we see shields in one, we see the guns in another, and then we've got this purple vending machine that, when you zoom into it, looks like it's got these like gold beams on it. It's got a little bit of rainbow. I'm thinking that since grenades are being replaced by spells, this is a spell vendor. Maybe you use some of that currency that we saw that was like rainbow currency on this vending machine. No clue here. I'm curious to what y'all think, but I do think it's super interesting because I cannot identify what the symbol is at the top, but I've got no clue what this is selling. I'm thinking spells is probably what it is, but super curious there. Next up, we get an outside look of Izzy's Fizzies, which is part of the new player hub, and right next to it is a building that is marked B-Rad's Catsmith, possibly a new like melee NPC. Maybe Marcus sells guns and B-Rad sells melee weapons or cats. It does say Catsmith, so maybe cat NPC. I don't know. I thought that was funny. And lastly, before I move on to the things I'm worried about, I just wanted to say that if you go and watch this uncut gameplay, the biggest takeaway for me, honestly, is it just looks freaking gorgeous. Like, the visuals are awesome. The fluidity and the animations look all like all upgrades from Borderlands 3. The environments that you're walking through look like huge upgrades visually from Borderlands 3. The animations, the spells, the effects, the sounds. Borderlands 3 really stepped up their gun feel, and I could already tell that these guns are going to be feeling good. The spells, the melee, I'm super stoked for it. And visually, while they are reusing assets for guns and stuff like that, the actual world that you're going through looks like such an upgrade, and I cannot wait to explore it. And some things that I am worried about. These are very minor worries, but I do want to point them out. First off, there are so many barrels in this first level. Someone counted 46 barrels in this 20 minutes of gameplay. And we know, while we love barrels in Borderlands, Late game, they can be kind of a nightmare. In Borderlands 3, anytime you shoot a barrel, if you're in a baseball throw area of it, you're probably dead. And the fact that there's 46 in 20 minutes of gameplay is a little bit worrying, more for late game than it is for early game. Maybe they'll tone that down. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention that I've seen a little bit that a little bothered me, but like just also like a minor detail, is when you're shooting the dark magic machine gun, the splash damage radius of it, or the splash effect that it is putting out, basically makes it so you cannot see what you're shooting at anymore. I know people have complained about visual pollution in Borderlands games. This is the only real like thing that I've noticed. Everything else I think looks great, but the actual splash radius of the dark magic looked a little bit too much. If they tone that down, I wouldn't complain. But other than that, it looks freaking amazing, guys. That is it for the video. I will have more Wonderlands coverage on the way as IGN keeps putting out new firsts and new things to look at. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I will catch y'all on the next one, guys. Take care. Peace.
I was putting in the